love having you here and seeing your wonderful face and knowing that it's inspiring you and your kids makes it even better. So let's get started and talk about our wonderful menu for the day. Just a reminder to get everybody to put themselves on mute so that while each person is presenting, and we've got a few different recipes today. So we're really excited about what that is. And I think one of the most favorite is the fact that the topic is root vegetables. And Mom and I are here, we grow a lot of root vegetables. So you're gonna see this incredible basket that is full of some of readily available root vegetables here in Atlantic Canada, which is always wonderful for everybody to see. And it really is beautiful, isn't it, Jacqueline? I always see that look in your face. Food is beautiful. And one of the things I like about root vegetables, and we're gonna honor what we say, and I'm just gonna put this down because it is a little heavy. So I'm gonna take this beautiful beet. Look at the size of this beet. This beautiful beet. And we're gonna talk a little bit about how we eat from root all the way to the stem. And I think that that's one of my favorite things a lot about root vegetables is there's a lot of nourishment, there's a lot of value in them. They're quite easy to grow. And oftentimes you can eat all of it from top to bottom. And around here in Atlantic Canada, we do quite a bit of that. But Mom, there's one thing that we'll often see even at the farmers market is a lot of people, and I'm gonna grab my carrots to demonstrate this one. They get these beautiful bundles of carrots, and then what happens to this big bunch, right? Many times we'll twist it off and we leave all of this part of the carrot, and it might go into a compost, hopefully, or it would go into a garbage. What we don't realize is actually on the top of most of the carrots, you can eat these as well. So we've made an incredible recipe today that is going to be featuring eating the tops of the carrots as well as the bottoms of the carrots. And it looks like he's got we have to name him. He looks like a little character, our little carrot character. And we're going to be taking these wonderful beet greens and we're going to be using those in some fried beet greens. The other interesting one that a lot of people realize is radish. And this is really fun. Look at how three of these are different. There's a little golden one, and then the long, skinny pink lady, and then there's a little purple radish. Well, you can also eat the tops of those radish greens. So we've made sure that we clean them really well, got all the dirt and things off them, because obviously with root vegetables, you want to make sure that you clean them really well, because they are coming out of our wonderful earth. So we're going to be talking a lot about what these are. I love this particular one. I think it's a global one that we're more familiar with, but there's an onion, again, growing under the ground, and so many varieties of different onions. And really love what those bring to the table. So potatoes, one of the most famous root vegetables, I think, is a potato. And we're going to have a couple of different features of that. Richard and Island is going to be talking about regular potatoes. Rosalind's going to be talking about sweet potatoes. So love how we're going to be bringing in that. And of course, my mother last night was requesting a Canadian dish that is known globally for a poutine. And we had some beautiful red potatoes and we made her a nice fresh poutine last night. So one of the other vegetables that we're often is turnip. So turnip or rutabaga, you'll often hear. So if you look at how beautiful this little guy is. See, it's white and purple. It's a little bit sweeter than a regular turnip. And then we often see these regular, we say, turnip. And here in Atlantic Canada, oftentimes people only remember the more earthy, this is a much sweeter turnip. So we're going to be blending a couple of them. And then there's a third turnip that comes along, and it's this little baby white ones. So hopefully today people will start to realize when they're walking through the markets, and especially our visitors from away, but when you come to Canada, to realize what all of these wonderful root vegetables are. And I think Rosalind was saying this earlier, and Maureen, when we were talking, is root vegetables are often something you would hear being stored in a root cellar or cold rooms, because when picked and stored properly, they actually store a lot longer than a lot of other regular vegetables. So I'm just glancing around here. One of the other beet category we were talking about, this particular beet, and everybody expects them to be red. This is a golden beet. So this is a real different approach, really sweet. I think I featured those in a recipe not that long ago. This is one of Rosalind's favorite, and this is a kohlrabi. This is a purple kohlrabi. So they all look about the same. He's kind of an interesting looking little vegetable. You'll see how it grows. But when you cut him in half, he's just got that beautiful white color on the inside. I was kind of hopeful that it'd be a little more purple, but you do have that beautiful white for the kohlrabi on the inside. So we're going to be featuring that in a salad. And one of the other vegetables, which is also a nice famous root vegetable, I feel like the show here in Canada called Mr. Dress Up with a tickle punk, and you just keep pulling things out of it. This is a Jerusalem artichoke, a vegetable and a tuber that not a lot of people use or realize. But one of my favorite things about this is it's a great substitute. It tastes a bit like a nutty potato. See how on the inside is white? So anybody who's diabetic or needs to cut down on starches, this is a great substitute to mash up and use as a mashed in with your potatoes or in place of potatoes. So these are fantastic. I've taken the Jerusalem artichokes and they're going to be on my big roasted medley that we're going to talk about in a minute. Ginger. There is another one of our wonderful roots. So you're talking about not just the vegetables, but what these particular roots do for seasoning and flavoring. I think what you're going to see in today's recipes is I've added very little additional flavoring because I'm using some of these root vegetables to support that. So many of us know turmeric as a really nice yellow or orange powder. Many people don't realize what turmeric looks like. So we're going to have a little turmeric lesson. So these are little turmeric tubers, and this is what they look like. But now you know why the powder gets its beautiful color, because when you cut one in half, that's the color on the inside of the turmeric. So it smells unbelievably delicious, and it is definitely a richer flavor. One of the things I would do with this is I would grate it and then put small bits of it in with a soup or in salads or in flavoring. But there's a lot of different ways for using the turmeric. And I'm going to enjoy exploring that this year. Today, this turmeric is going to be going into that nice radish and kohlrabi salad to give it a little bit of an extra punch. So I think I have covered off most of the vegetables. Mom, have I missed any? I feel like we didn't. The sweet potato. Roz is going to be, thank you. Roz is going to be featuring these beautiful sweet potatoes. We know that this is our famous sweet potato that's in those brownies that we talk about regularly. But my best way is anything with garlic and Parmesan and a potato in it, Roz, is, got to be fantastic. So last but not least, I'm going to talk a bit about a garlic scape. Is there any other vegetable? Please put it in it. Welcome. If there's any other vegetable that you might be thinking about that we haven't mentioned in the root vegetable category, I'd like to see that in the chat. So I'm going to go with my pesto recipe, and then I'm going to move it over to Jacqueline to talk about spring rolls. So I want to talk about this pesto recipe because, to be honest with you, Jacqueline, I kind of envision putting maybe a little bit of it inside of a spring roll. So garlic is an amazing health property. I am looking for my garlic and I cannot see it. Mom, could you find me my garlic, please? So as we know, garlic bulb, which sadly I've now lost. Oh, here it is. So this is a small garlic bulb. You see how they grow like this? When garlic grows, it's really long stalks. It's kind of interesting. It almost looks like the stalks as if you were growing corn. It's very tall and stocky. And then there's this beautiful garlic scape. And this would be a flower had we let it bloom. And it's very interesting, and I'll show you a picture. They curl, and that is the signal that they're ready to be harvested. So if this was, and trust me, you really can't uncurl them, but right now they're growing on my plants like this, and come overnight, I get up in the morning and they're all curled like this, which is really quite incredible. Rosalind, I hope yours are alive and well and all active in your backyard. But I will say, right now across Atlantic Canada, you can buy plenty of these scapes. So this is a giant bag of just garlic scapes. And it was only a few dollars. So right now they're being sold in bundles for about $1 a bundle. So they're very inexpensive, but not a lot of people know what to do with them. So what I did today is, well, I've done a few things. I cut them up into pieces like this, and I fry them up and I eat them like I would fried asparagus. They're lovely. And yes, they're very garlicky, but it's not as much as the bulb. It's a much lighter flavor. So what I did today is I took 2 cups of these garlic scapes and I put them through my food processor. And then I took the same amount of the carrot tops. So I processed them separately. And then I made sure they were really ground down into the food processor. When I did the carrot tops, I want to be very clear, the carrot tops definitely get caught around your food processor. So a little bit more careful and chop those up a bit before going in. The only thing I added was 1/4 cup of olive oil. I put a very little bit of salt and pepper, and I actually use this wonderful Funday Coast sea salt that's being made here locally. And it's all natural sea salt, and it's made in Cape and Rage, New Brunswick. So we're really excited. It's only about 25 minutes from my house, and they're using an entirely natural process to dry our wonderful Atlantic sea salt. So this one does happen to have a habanero flavor to it. So it had a tiny little bit of spice. So, and then the other thing I put in this was 1/4 cup of peanuts. So many pestos are made with basil, Parmesan cheese, and pine nuts, which by the way, are incredibly delicious, but are most expensive ingredients. So I hope this pesto, which we're going to show you how beautiful it turned out, and it is absolutely green and rich and gorgeous. Rosalind, I cannot wait for you to share some of this. It is everything you would imagine a really great pesto would have in it. And because the garlic scape itself gives the onion and gives that flavor, it balances out what you might think would be bitter from the carrot top. So enjoy this incredible pesto recipe. And then the other thing that we took and we did with it, and I said, what a great way to turn this into a nice spicy sauce to put on your vegetables. So we took some of Scott's original buffalo sauce, and look at the beautiful result when you blended it about 50-50. And now to put on top of chicken, with your chicken wings, it brightens it up with the nice green and the fresh herbs in a balance. So there's a nice spicy pesto new recipe moving forward. So I hope everybody enjoys that. I know, Maureen, you have lots of those ingredients readily available down in Liverpool. So I hope that gives you maybe a bit of an inspiration to get moving. Here's what's funny, I will tell you, that garlic scape just fell into the giant bowl of maple syrup and hot sauce. And I feel like he's getting ready to get into the next recipe. So this is kind of funny. So Jacqueline, let's go over to Vietnam and have a look at some spring rolls and see how you're using root vegetables in there.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm excited to share with you the recipe, which is called bò bía. And in English, you can say Vietnamese spring rolls with Chinese sausages. And the main ingredients are Mexican turnip and carrots and sausages. All right, now let's talk about the ingredients. For 3 to 4 people, we need a large Mexican turnip, 2 small carrots. Actually, carrots are optional. Mm, the main ingredient is Mexican turnip, and we can use carrots to make the rolls more beautiful. We need some lettuce, some herbs. Um, Normally, people use Thai basil, but because I didn't have Thai basil, so I use cilantro instead. We need 2 to 4 eggs, a bowl of dry shrimps, 3 Chinese sausages, and of course, we need rice paper to wrap the rolls. Now, we also need the dipping sauce. So for the dipping sauce, we need hoisin sauce, peanut butter, and some roasted peanuts without shells. Now, let's talk about the steps. First of all, how to cook the sausages. We boil the Chinese sausages for 5 minutes in water. And after that, we drain them and pan fry for 3 minutes or until the fat pockets are translucent. And then we slice each sausage thinly. For the eggs, first we mix 1 tablespoon of cornstarch with 2 tablespoons of water. Then we mix the eggs with 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then we add the cornstarch mixture into it and mix them. The next step is we heat up the pan on high heat with 1 tablespoon of oil and pour in enough air to form a thin crepe. And after that, we use a flat utensil. I use the spoon to roll the egg into a long log. And we repeat the steps 3, 4, 5 until the mixture is finished. And then slice them into thin strips. For the vegetables, first we peel and cut the turnip and carrots into thin strips, about 3 millimeters thick sticks. Then we stir fry the carrots and turnip on high heat with oil and some seasoning powder to taste. But remember, we need to cook them until they are just cooked, because overcooking them will take away its satisfying crunchy. It is very important that we need to taste the vegetables crunchy, not tender. And for the shrimps, because they are fried shrimps, so we have to soak them in water for about 20 to 30 minutes before we cook them. We heat the pan on medium heat and stir fry the shrimps for about 3 minutes. And now everything is ready. before we make the rolls, we have to make the dipping sauce. Heat up the pan on medium heat with 1 tablespoon of oil, and then we add hoisin sauce and then peanut butter. Stir them and then add some hot water. It's very simple. Some people add some water to adjust the taste, but I just mix the hoisin sauce and peanut butter with some water, and it's okay. Okay, and now it's time for us to wrap the rolls. First of all, we have to make the rice paper wet by brushing some water on it. Then lay the sausage on the softened wrapping, along with the lettuce, herbs, shrimps, fried shallots, and stir-fried vegetables on top. And after that, bring the wrap up to cover the entire filling. Fold the left and right sides in and add the sausage if desired. And then we continue to roll until there is no gap between the wrap and the filling. Okay,
Jacqueline, you do
and
that
now
so well.
done. And now enjoy it. By the way, I forgot to tell you. I forget to tell you that bò bía or Vietnamese spring rolls with sausages is the favorite of the young in the south of Vietnam, especially students, university students love this kind of dish. And it is a kind of snack for them, a kind of street food, but the favorite for the young in the south of Vietnam. Okay, thank you for watching. And back to you, Michelle.
Jacqueline, you know, you show us so many unique things. You know, that is they're readily available in Atlantic Canada. I'm very proud to say for some of your wonderful friends that have come, your country, people that have come here before and are really making these beautifully at the markets. Rosalind, this is probably one of Rosalind's favorite dishes. She really taught me how to be able to do that, and so many of the tricks with getting the rice paper, to be honest with you. I could get the ingredients cut up. Love the technique you just showed with frying the carrots a little bit. I hadn't been doing that. I usually cut them up thin and use them fresh. Love that technique. I love that you use those little fried shrimp all the time, by the way, too, because they just give, what's the word, that little umami bomb, right? That extra piece in there. So can't wait to make them with you. Do you know what? That's one of those things too, that I think that this is, spring rolls are enjoyable to share, right? Have people participate in it. And I love food that people can participate in making. So we're gonna show a real quick recipe here. Richard, we're gonna zoom over to you and follow up with some potatoes if that's good. So we've got the frying pan on hot right now. This is something, well, we've been doing fried, or a lot of the times we would steam, right? When we're doing greens. So here you do Swiss chard and you do a lot of different greens. Traditional way might be to boil or to steam them. And then you would serve them with some olive oil, maybe salt and pepper and vinegar, or just some butter would be normally common, right? Butter, salt, pepper with a little bit of vinegar. So as you see, I just want to hold this up because these are really cool. This was from some yellow beets, and these, so the beet greens even have the beautiful color of how the beets had come through. We also diced up some of our radish greens that are going in. So I'm going to do a bit of a mixture. What we're doing is we're going to put this on a high heat in the frying pan, and we're going to let that saute down with a little bit of salt and pepper. And I'm going to actually throw in a little bit of garlic scapes in with it, just to give it a little bit more flavor. But I really enjoy the flavor of the green itself. So it's not something that we will tend to season a lot. You're actually looking to taste the green. So we're going to throw this in the frying pan, and it will probably only take a few minutes to cook up. So we're going to look forward to hearing what Richard's going on from his Irish potato dish, as well as a little bit chatting. I think he's got a few facts and interesting things as usual. Thank you, Richard, for catching us up on some educational things. So we're going to get this into the frying pan. I'm going to throw that frying pan over here for a minute. There we go. So hot frying pan, straight in. Ooh, can you hear the sizzle? There's a good. We need smell-o-vision next, right? That would be the next thing. So those are literally going to fry up in this hot pan and be done in just a few minutes. So Richard, we're going to put that over to you.
Good morning, everybody. It's Irish Potato Day. I think I've mentioned before, I'm not really a big potato fan. I'll eat it, you know, if it's served. It's not something I would normally order off the menu. I don't know what that is. There's a huge connection, obviously, with Ireland and potatoes. But it started in the 1500s. They were originally discovered by the Spanish in 1550s in Peru. That's where they kind of originated from. And they made their way over to Ireland. Now, the Irish before the year 1550s, say the 1550s, their diet was completely dairy. There was a very, very milky diet. That's what they didn't eat a lot of stuff like this. But there was a lot of wars in that century. And at the end of the century, the English owned all the land. And with the land, they owned all the food as well. So that's when potatoes started, you know, getting eaten by the Irish. They originally, believe it or not, the Irish people were superstitious about root vegetables, things that were grown underground. They didn't actually trust them very much. But eventually the hunger forced them to eat that. But that had everything to do with the Irish potato famine, because the potato could support a lot more people per acre than dairy. Dairy would be like maybe 3 people per acre. The potato actually about 8. So that's why there was a huge population explosion. In the year 1800, Ireland only had 4 million, and that had doubled by the year 1850, the year the potato famine hit. So that's why, you know, there was 1.5 million people that ended up starving to death, because it was completely overpopulated. It was a bad economic model. And the potato famine was a potato famine only in Ireland. It hit everywhere in Europe, but it was only really devastating in Ireland because Ireland was the only country that had 90% of the population eating just potatoes, really, mostly for their diet. But, you know, we'll put the history aside there for a minute. Ireland has a strong connection with potatoes. And, you know, when I lived with Irish people before the country was as international as it is now, I remember every single meal that was served, every single meal could not come onto the plate without some kind of potato in some one form or another. And maybe that's why I kind of, you know, I'm not a big fan of them, but I thought I'd give it a go. So I roasted some potatoes today. I roasted a collection of potatoes, and these are my first ones I've ever made. As I say, I don't mind eating them. It's not something I would normally order, but I thought I'd have some fun today. So I made the first one here. This is a small little potato, just fresh out of the oven, and it's got beef and cheese and a little bit of garlic chili sauce melted into it. So this is still warm. It's good. This is going to be one of my lunches, I guess. I have a few more. I'm really happy though, Roz, that you're doing sweet potatoes, because I bought one of those, and it's a lot bigger, and it's not ready at all. So, and it looks like more work. I was going to mix it with maple syrup, but let's see, what else do we have here? Here's another. Oh, this one's still hot. This is another one. This is beef again, but this time I have Greek feta cheese with it. So beef and Greek feta cheese as a topping I think I'm going to use something, I'm not really sure what's in this, but it's called street food, and it's got some Polish words underneath it. It's not the same street food they have in Vietnam, I'm sure, but it looks good enough anyway. So I'm going to use that as a topping. Now I made a vegetarian one for my mom too. And this one is made with the Greek feta cheese. Oh, there's something dripping. I'm glad I didn't put this over the computer yet. Greek feta cheese. Oh, and olives. I don't know if you can see that with olives. So I don't know how that's going to taste. I don't know. I think it's probably going to be fine. You know, why not? It's going to be salty flavored. So Greek feta cheese with olives. And here's another big one with the feta cheese melting on top of the beef underneath. I think that one might be able to cook a little bit more. And then just for fun, I thought I'd make a Scottish one. Now I was all out of Mars bars, so I had to use a Kit Kat and some crisps. I'm sorry, Scotland. I'm sorry, Scotland. I had to throw that in there. In Scotland, they actually have a dish where they take a Mars bar and they fry it. So this would probably work in Scotland. So we'll see. And I could add something like a little bit of maple syrup with that. I think that'll be perfect. A kind of a dessert potato. A dessert potato.
You might have taken potatoes to a new level of stuffed potatoes. I'm here to tell you they're hysterical. I've seen a lot of people put a lot of toppings on things, and you've got a couple of new really cool ones there.
Some crisps. That's the Scottish one. Yeah, so there's 4 different types here. And for toppings, I'm going to use probably this a lot and this other thing I bought, which is Creole mustard sauce, which I got again at the Polish shop. I'm loving this Polish shop I found recently. It's fantastic. And yeah, the other cheese that I'm using is just white cheddar to melt on top of it, along with a little bit of beef I cooked up this morning. So other than that, what do we have here? Oh wait, sorry. This is the Scottish one here. This is the Scottish one here with the crisps and the Kit Kat bar. So we'll see how that works with the.
Well, Richard, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up the tour of the stuffed potatoes du jour. I have as he adds some maple syrup. Not going to lie, I think that's just a great addition to anything. So definitely take us a couple of pictures of those to share over. I have a feeling we're going to roll over to Rosalind with a lighter version of some potatoes. But I love your extra creativeness. And you know what I love that you did, Richard? It's all about toppings too, right? If you're going to do a roast potato, food is meant to be sauced. So way to bring out king of the sauces today.
Yeah, I'm really gonna enjoy this actually. So it looks great. So I'm looking forward to this. I might munch away while the show's continuing.
Please enjoy. All right, Roz, I'm just gonna throw it over to you in 1 minute. Mom just finished this beautiful chard, all done. Look at the chard. It looks like Swiss chard. All of the beet greens and the radish greens are all done up. I'm just gonna move the camera down so you can have a look at how beautiful that is. And it's, Mom says, can you smell it? How's it smell, Mom? Delicious. So what we did is, traditionally we would top it with maybe some, I almost said mustard. Richard, I have mustard on the brain now. Top it off with the vinegar, thank you, Mom, right afterwards. But what we did is we put a little bit in. So just when it was just before we took it out of the frying pan, she put a nice splash of the vinegar, and the warmth of it really hit and moved it up. And I can tell you, I'm going to sit here and enjoy this, Rosalind, while we watch you, which I think would be a perfect accompaniment, make that wonderful potato dish. So thank you, Mom. We will share this wonderful bit of beet and radish greens. So Rosalind, over to you.
Thanks, Michelle. You know, it's really interesting that, you know, you're absolutely right. A lot of people don't use the tops of the vegetables, and that's where a lot of the ingredients and nutrition are, because it's green. And of course, we all know that the greenery is the best, right? So my recipe today is very simple. I'm not going to cook it because I'm leaving the lake house today to go back to my home. So, but I will show you, it's very simple. And the nice thing is it belongs in a plastic bag, believe it or not, to have a mix. So what you do is I had 2 sweet potatoes, 2 large sweet potatoes. It takes the recipe is made for 6 people. Prep time is about 10 minutes. Cooking time is 30 minutes at 400. I want to mention that because sometimes I forget to tell you the whole detail. So 2 sweet potatoes, and I peel them, and then I slice them. Which way am I going? Very thin. So I make them all the same so that they cook evenly. And with that, there's 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, a tablespoon of olive oil, a couple of tablespoons of butter melted, 4 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese. And of course, I brought my big chunk of Parmesan, so it's the real stuff. So, and then a teaspoon of garlic salt and a teaspoon of spices. Now, I did not have the Italian spice, so what I did was I did a mixture of spices that I did bring, and it's here. And I used a little bit of the Mexican seasoning as well, and that's from Urban Joy. Thank you, Michelle, for giving me this package of Mexican season. I am truly enjoying it. And then I'm adding some fresh herbs. So I brought rosemary. I did not have thyme, but they suggested thyme and Italian spicing, but I do believe that you can put whatever you wish. So all you do is you heat up the oven at 400 degrees, and then you place the Parmesan cheese in the bag. Let me just move my camera down a little bit. So you put the Parmesan cheese in the bag. You put the garlic in the bag. You put the olive oil in the bag. And the nice thing about putting it in the bag is I'm going to bring it home with me, so I don't have to transport it. And another thing that I am going to put in the bag is I'm going to put a little bit of red onion. It didn't call for it in the recipe, but I love onions like everyone else, Maureen as well. And a teaspoon of the spice that I chose. I'm going to put a little bit more, just because I like it a little spicy. And then you literally ziplock the bag and mix it well, so that the olive oil, the Parmesan cheese, everything is the spices, the herbs are all mixed up. And it's a very simple recipe. And then you put your sweet potatoes in. And it's literally that easy. And then you shake the sweet potatoes around until they're completely covered. And then what you do is you put it in a serving a dish. You layer them. So you literally just rub it all up. That's the nice part about it. You don't have to worry about cleaning the bowls after. And once it is all rolled up and evenly coated, you put it in a dish and lay them out. After you put a little bit of olive oil in the dish so it doesn't stick. And then you just lay them out thinly and lay them on top of each other. You cook them for about 30-35 minutes. It would depend on the thickness of your sweet potatoes. If they're thicker, they have to cook a little longer. So then you just sprinkle them with the thyme on top or a fresh herb on top. And if you like cheese, put a little bit more cheese on top, just to kind of give it that fresh roasting time. Again, would change if the vegetable or the sweet potatoes cut a little thicker or a little thinner. You do have to test it. So, and then that's it. So I'm going to take this home and cook it tonight when I get home to go along with my supper. But that's how quick and easy the recipe is. And it's literally simple. It's going to travel well back to Moncton and Riverview, and it'll be seasoning the whole way home. So back to you, Michelle. Any questions? It's very simple. No? Okay, back to you, Michelle.
Rosalind, I love showing.
Oh, is it a local sweet potato?
Yes. We grow lots of local sweet potatoes.
Mine was from Egypt for some reason. That's weird.
All right, so we've got a few more recipes to get to, and we're running out of time today. So who would have known root vegetables? Just so much to talk about, which we absolutely love. Rosalind, I love those recipes where you can season it and then later on throw it into the pan. Crisp those up in the oven. They sound spectacular. So we talked about the roasted root vegetables. So I'm going to just give a high level of what's in this pan, Maureen, before we go over and listen to the incredible onion recipe and a little bit of breakfast twist we love that Maureen's created for us from Liverpool, Nova Scotia. So here's the tray. I've made a recipe similar to this in the past where I strictly did the carrots and onions. And then what I did was a blend of the hot buffalo sauce, which one great thing about buffalo sauce, and Scott says, is it has a little bit of butter in it. So that brings a little bit of that fat that's in there that the vegetables and things that would need to cook. I want to make sure that you know that, because in the event that you are not using a buffalo sauce to repeat this recipe, you would need to add a little bit of fat into it or it would simply burn. We don't want that to happen. The other thing, maple syrup. So I've actually used a combination of maple syrups today. We used some Briggs maple syrup and we've used some of the dark sheet black maple syrup in it. Due to the size of the tray that I'm making, I'm using about a cup of maple syrup to a half a cup of the buffalo sauce. And as I was joking earlier, it was funny because I had the bowl sitting here and somehow the garlic chive fell out of my hand, as you see. And you can really see how springy he is. Isn't that great? You can see how springy that is. So apparently that garlic scape was escaping into the dish a little bit early. So here's what I've done. So this has gotten blended up and blending it up. It actually looks like almost like dessert, to be honest with you. It's so beautiful. So I'm strictly using the maple syrup and then the buffalo sauce. So on the bottom of this beautiful tray, which is now stopped by a spiky thing. So I'm going to pull this down a bit because earlier I put in a majority of those beautiful root vegetables that we talked about. So there's those beautiful beets. And I've cut everything up to be similar sized. And the reason why we want to do that is we want it to cook evenly, right? So that's something. So we have the beautiful fresh carrots from Friday Farm Local Harvest. So, and this would be the purple turnip. And then we have some of the white turnip in there. And of course, the beautiful yellow beets. And I'm going to hold the yellow beet next to the red beet. You can really see how the difference is. And I think what you're going to see is you really eat with your eyes first. This particular tray is very beautiful. There is 2 other ingredients that go into this. And so I've got now one of these beautiful oranges, and then I'm going to squeeze a lemon into it. So once I put that sauce across there, I'll put those. All across the bottom of this are beautiful onions. So across the entire bottom of this tray is 2 onions cut up. And then what I decided to do, these are garlic scapes. The entire tray is full of garlic scapes. So we can see all the green pieces that might look asparagus, but I coated those in garlic scapes. They do stand up to heat, so they'll roast well with all of those vegetables. Unlike other things that might burn earlier. So when you're going to use this, use your garlic scape for roasting. Take the tiny little tip off it because that will burn in the oven. So just take it off to the top and then you can pop that into the oven. So I'm going to coat all that in that sauce and it's going to go into the oven and it's going to go into a 375-degree oven. It's going to bake for about 55 minutes to an hour. You want to see it get those golden colors and you're going to see it crisp up. Sometimes I put balsamic vinegar across the top of it if you wanted to, but this particular one, like I said, has the spice and the maple. So we will look forward to showing you because I, like Roz, I'm going to roast those later. And we'll look forward to enjoying a roasted root vegetable and garlic scape dinner. So these vegetables, I also want to say, when it comes from a cost standpoint, they really are the vegetables that are really readily available here, and they're not as expensive. So we hope that you've also been able to look at how cost effective many of these recipes are. And remember, I've got those Jerusalem artichokes in there too. So we've got a really nice variety in that blend. So Maureen let's tell us a little bit about what's going on. And I'm going to finish off with my kohlrabi salad. So we'll go over to Liverpool, Nova Scotia, and have a nice onion feature. Go ahead, Maureen.
Okay, basically, I'm doing caramelized onions. So really, it's just you just chop up your onions, whichever way you want to. I chop them up quite loosely in this way, and all you need then is butter, like a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons. It depends on how much you're doing. Like if you're doing a couple of onions or just one, that's basically all you need to put in the pan. And then I add just a tiny little bit of baking soda because that helps to caramelize the onion. So I've got the onion. Actually, it takes a long time, like it takes about 45 minutes to do. But you'll end up with something like this. Can you see that? Yeah, they have to get to be quite brown, but it's a very, very slow process because you can't rush it, you know. So yeah, that's how it ends up. And I'm just going to put a little bit more of those on my plate here.
Always more onions, Maureen. Always more caramelized onions. I think anybody, this is week 47 of following this show. I was excited to see you making caramelized onions. That caramelization at the bottom is where the flavor is. Well done, Maureen. Show us what that plate looks like.
So now this is the plate. Yeah. So I've got the scrambled eggs. The scrambled eggs actually have Greek olives in them, Greek black sun-dried olives. And then there, of course, is the, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I've got toast, homemade bread with toasted and the caramelized onions. So that's my breakfast this morning. It's so simple. It's very, very simple, but the caramelized onions, you really have to watch them. You have to pay. I've been doing them like for 45 minutes during the show. So but if you watch them properly and just do it very slowly, they'll come out wonderful, and they're perfectly, wonderfully simple.
Maureen, those are amazing. Maureen, tell us, what are a couple of your other favorite root vegetables that you like to eat in season, if you had to pick some of the ones we've talked about today? What would be one of your favorites? I'd
say I really love parsnips. I love parsnips, absolutely love those. And of course, the potatoes and the carrots. And I really like turnips as well. I know a lot of people don't like turnips, but I do. I think they're really delicious. And I used to have a friend from Finland, and she used to make up an incredible casserole that it was made from turnip. And she put all kinds of spices in it, and then she'd bake it in the oven. It was absolutely fabulous. So, you know, root vegetables are just, they're just the most wonderful thing. And I think we could possibly all survive on root vegetables if we didn't have anything else to eat in the whole world.
Maureen, I think you might be right with that from a health standpoint too, and thank you. And I don't know if I said parsnip earlier. So parsnips are in that beautiful tray, and that parsnip, and I was looking at them, I think I used all the parsnips that I had. Mom, you can look in the fridge and grab you a parsnip out of the fridge, would be great. You know, I love a parsnip as well. And Maureen, it's an underrated vegetable. The parsnips need a comeback.
Them, you see.
I'm sorry?
They have a lovely sweetness to them, you know?
They're
not sweet, yeah.
I like the nuttiness in it. Thank you, Mom. Yeah. My support here. So, hello, parsnip.
Yes, yes.
So, you know, and oftentimes, and it's funny because these just happen to be smaller carrots that I have, but as we know, they grow very much like the carrot and the parsnip family. So I do find the parsnips, I'll make sure that I do take the peeler and peel off the outside of it. Those things are really, really fresh. That definitely gives a little bit better experience on that one anyways. So just to wrap up this last bit of this, one of the other things with a parsnip, what is really great is I've oftentimes grind the parsnip up and cook it down and put it in with potatoes and mashed potatoes. Parsnip makes a great puree. So a lot of people don't realize that you can use a lot of different things. There's a really good fiber, lots of good digestive things. So parsnips are really a positive one. Thank you for bringing that up. So as we wrap down our last recipe, and if anybody has any of the questions, root vegetables make some of the best salads. Really, at the end of the day, they make a really fantastic salad. And they make a beautiful salad because of the colors and the different pieces in it. So this is one here, and it's funny, probably because I've got a few more extra white vegetables in it, but hopefully you're going to see the beautiful colors that you have in there. So what I've done is there's 3 kinds of radish that are in here. And each one of those radish has a different flavor to it. So there's some that are a stronger flavor. Sometimes we call it a bite. You really can, and I think, and you know what I didn't have was horseradish. That's something that I don't commonly see because that falls into those neat root vegetable as well. We have the beautiful golden beets that are in here. That in this particular salad, I'm only using the golden beet. And I'll tell you why. Had I add a traditional red beet into this bowl would be beautifully pink in not too long of a time frame. So I like the golden beets because they don't necessarily bleed through the color, but they keep that definitely recipes in there. I diced up a lot of our garlic scapes in here because again, the nice thing about a garlic scape is it can hold its density. I did cut them so it opens up the flavor of the scape. So it's a little bit more of a garlicky piece that comes through. And inside here, I've also have the daikon radish. So that's a totally white radish. And then the last but not least thing would be the salad turnip. So Maureen, I'm glad that you brought up turnip again. Those smaller salad turnip that I had earlier, they are milder. So they're wonderful to eat raw, great for dipping. And of course, the other piece that's in there, and I wish you would have held this color because the other key ingredient in this particular recipe was the kohlrabi. But like I said, when I cut the kohlrabi up, you don't see as much of his beautiful purple edge on the outside of it. Oh, thank you, Mom. She's grabbing me one of those salad turnip. So that's this beautiful little salad turnip. So I will finish cutting up the rest of that side to make sure that beautiful exterior goes in there to punch up the colors. So these radish, I can tell you, this is a pink lady one, and we grew these in our backyard. So we're really excited to say the harvest is happening right out of our own backyard. And I think we have the little golden one. So we put some heirloom ones in. So what happens is we're not entirely sure which radish is going to pop up. So that's been a little bit of an interesting piece, but we're quite enjoying having the opportunity to snack on them. So because these root vegetables hold up so well, I'm going to just simply put a really light dressing on them. And it's somewhat of a pickle because you don't really need to put a lot of olive oil or really anything in here. Rosalind, you might recognize this jar. This is actually the chive vinegar that Roz had made for me last year or the year before, but it keeps so well. So this is we used a light vinegar, a white wine vinegar. It's just absolutely beautiful. And if you can see a little pink hue, she had taken the purple flowers that are on the top of the chive and soak them. So what they do is they take the flavor of the vinegar, takes on that lovely chive flavor, and obviously a little bit of that natural pink food coloring or pink coloring that would come out of that food. So we're going to use about a tablespoon of this. And then the other ingredient, which is not surprising, probably you could use honey. But yes, Mom was already handing me the maple syrup. She was in the hand before I could. And a little bit of maple syrup. And that just cuts the balance of the two. And in this, for an herb, I actually put some fresh chives, which I do have in a bowl right in front of me. So here we go. So these happen to be the regular and a combination of garlic chives. I think I've shown before. The garlic chives are flatter, and then the regular chives. Because this salad, thanks, Mom, is so easy to make. And it is really one of the beautiful salads. And I'll tell you, if you have friends that are uncertain about turnip, have never heard of a kohlrabi before, and are a little curious about what those different beets taste like, oftentimes they'll eat it. And then afterwards, you can tell them all the different unique ingredients that are in it. The other thing, and I'm going to get the right picture of this one, I diced up some of that turmeric that's in there. So for this particular salad, I'm not going to eat it till later today, because I really want those flavors to sit. So again, there's no dried herbs or anything in this particular one. It's strictly made with the freshest ingredients that Mother Nature allows us. So hopefully each one of you today got a few inspirations on taking, as we were saying before, from the top to the bottom to the top, and get inspired to use your ingredients in a few different ways. And I hope as I pick up my funny little handful of garlic scapes, that for those here in and around Atlantic Canada, when you see someone selling them for $1 for a bunch double this, pick them up. Pick them up and enjoy them, right, Maureen? And we're going to be looking forward to some garlic scape recipes coming from you. I will let everybody know this is over the next 2 to 3 weeks here in Atlantic Canada. They really are everywhere. And when I was at the market yesterday to pick up some ingredients from Angela at Funny Farms Local Harvest, there was a lady nearby, and she had so much of these. I said, "How much garlic do you grow?" She said, "We grow over 10,000 bulbs of garlic." So I am growing 20 bulbs of garlic, only 20. And my garlic has produced about 8 of these handfuls.
Oh.
So can you imagine how many garlic scapes that they're getting? So we'll definitely be looking out for her, and we'll be making lots of that to freeze. So from our kitchens to yours each week, thank you so much from Atlantic Canada Cooks, Maureen, Richard, Jacqueline, Rosalind, for always sharing wonderful recipes. And I know that we're looking forward, Christine, next week to see how to make those wonderful vegetable bites. And I want to hear what each one of you are looking for. So we want to know, as we're coming up, our 1-year anniversary is coming up on August 1st, if you can well imagine. It's been a year, and we don't seem to run out of topics. So I'm really happy to see that. I am going to say that next week we'll acknowledge, I have to check my list. Next week is chocolate, oddly enough, because it's International Chocolate Day. So Maureen got so excited over chocolate. You're gonna love some of the chocolate. So I'm excited to introduce chocolate in savory and in sweet, different types of recipes. But it is International Chocolate Day. So when Richard and I pick a lot of these things, and Richard was already in it in the potatoes, he said, "I'm in the advanced class." And I actually think in the comments, somebody suggested you adding chocolate to something, so. So from our kitchens to yours every week, we really thank you. And we will look forward to seeing you next Sunday, just after Canada Day. So, maybe we'll talk about some Canada Day celebrations. July 1st is Canada Day. And we look forward to next year. I think everybody on this call will be in Canada together celebrating, and any of our other guests and our students that'll be able to have a very large Canada Day celebration. I know Rosalind and I had hoped for some different things, but we know next year that we'll be having a very large celebration for Atlantic Canada Language Academy and embracing all the food and all the cultures that we get to serve each and every week. So thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us again.